Right now, you are looking at a man kneeling in cold river water, swirling a shallow metal pan with quiet, practiced patience. He is not digging a mine. He is not running heavy machinery. He is simply reading the current the way some people read a map. What happens in the next few seconds of that swirl decides whether he walks away with nothing or with tiny flakes of gold sitting heavy in the bottom of his pan. Here is the part most people never stop to consider. The river running behind your own town might be doing exactly the same thing right now, quietly hiding gold in places nobody bothers to check. Gold has been settling into riverbeds across huge stretches of this country for longer than any town has existed, and it never really stopped moving downstream. Every flood season simply rearranges the same old gold that has been circulating through these watersheds since long before anyone thought to look for it with a pan. Old-timers called it free gold, meaning it sits loose in the gravel instead of locked inside solid rock, which means anyone with a pan and a little patience can go after it directly. Most people driving along a scenic riverside road never once considered that the water beside them might be carrying something worth real money, and that alone is exactly why so much gold sits there untouched. Today, you are going to learn how ordinary rivers across the United States still hide real gold, and how a simple pan turns raw gravel into a genuine discovery in your own hands. Before you ever dip a pan into moving water, it helps to understand why gold ends up in a river at all, because that single idea changes how you search from this point forward. Gold starts its journey locked inside veins of quartz buried deep in mountain rock, formed over unimaginable stretches of time under heat and pressure most of us will never witness firsthand. Over centuries, weather and the constant grinding of moving water break that rock apart, freeing tiny particles of gold and sending them tumbling into streams and creeks nearby. Gold is remarkably heavy compared to the sand and ordinary rock fragments surrounding it, roughly 6 times heavier than most common river stone by volume. Because of that weight, gold refuses to travel far once it hits fast water. It sinks and settles almost immediately while lighter material keeps drifting downstream without it. That single fact is the whole secret behind successful panning, because it means gold concentrates in very specific, predictable spots instead of spreading evenly across a riverbed. Learn to recognize those spots, and you stop wasting hours on random gravel and instead start working the exact pockets where nature already did the sorting for you. That shift in thinking is exactly what fills a pan with real color after a long day of honest searching along the water. So where exactly does gold like to settle once it stops moving with the current? And how do you spot those pockets from the riverbank without any equipment at all? The outside bend of any river curve is where the water slows down the most, and slow water simply cannot carry heavy particles the way fast water can. Picture the outside of a curve moving quickly while the inside curve barely moves at all. That difference in speed is exactly why gold drops out of suspension right there. Look also for the downstream side of large, partly buried boulders sitting in the current, since they create a small, quiet pocket right behind them where gold can settle undisturbed for years. Bedrock exposed at the bottom of a river acts like a natural trap too, because gold works its way down through loose gravel until it hits something solid it cannot pass through. Any crack or rough seam in that bedrock becomes a natural gold trap, sometimes holding far more material than the loose gravel sitting above it ever could. Experienced prospectors call this reading the river, and once your eye adjusts, you start noticing these quiet pockets almost automatically on every new stretch of water you walk. Rusty orange staining on exposed gravel is another useful clue, since that color often comes from iron minerals that traveled the same violent journey down from the mountain alongside any gold nearby. Now that you understand how gold behaves in moving water, the next question becomes simple. Which actual rivers across this country are still worth the drive? California remains the obvious starting point, since the American River and the Yuba River still produce fine gold and the occasional small nugget along public stretches of gravel. The north and middle forks of the Yuba River near Downeyville have a long-standing reputation for chunkier material, and South Yuba River State Park allows hand panning without requiring a special claim. Auburn State Recreation Area along the American River covers miles of public riverbank that stays open to hand panning year-round. Marshall Gold Discovery Historic Park in Coloma even runs guided panning sessions for curious beginners on their first trip. Colorado offers another solid option, with Clear Creek running between Golden and Idaho Springs, hosting club-managed public access areas that welcome hand panning and small sluice work. Georgia holds real history too, since the Chastathe River and the Etowah River near Dahlonega still yield fine to medium placer gold inside the Chattahoochee National Forest. That same region hosted one of the earliest gold rushes in the entire country, long before anyone had even heard the name California in connection with gold. Washington State rewards patient panners along the Snoqualmie River near North Bend and along Swauk Creek and Peshastin Creek near the old mining town of Liberty. Alaska remains the boldest choice of all, since public land near Fairbanks still produces coarse gold for visitors willing to travel farther and work harder for every flake they find. Idaho quietly rewards patient hunters too, especially along tributaries feeding the Clearwater River, where old dredge tailings still hold overlooked flakes. Montana carries its own deep mining history, and creeks feeding the upper Missouri River near old boom towns still turn up fine color for anyone willing to work a full pan through the gravel. What ties every single one of these places together is the exact same pattern of slow water and tight bends sitting over heavy bedrock. You already learned to spot that pattern earlier, and now you simply carry that same reading skill with you from one river to the next. Before driving anywhere, always confirm current access rules for that specific stretch of river, since regulations shift by season and some sections sit on private land. Written permission is required before you step onto any stretch that belongs to a private owner rather than open public ground. National forest land and land managed by the Bureau of Land Management generally allow casual hand panning without a permit, but always double-check locally before you start digging into any bank. Treat every riverbank with real respect while you search it, filling in any hole you dig and staying clear of fish spawning areas during posted seasons. Never damage the vegetation that holds a bank together, since roots like that keep the whole river system from slowly washing away. Once you have picked a promising bend or exposed bedrock seam, the actual technique for separating gold from gravel turns out simpler than most beginners expect. Start by scooping several inches of gravel and sand from the bottom of your chosen spot, aiming for material sitting close to bedrock rather than loose surface gravel near the top. Remove any large rocks by hand first, checking each one quickly for a bright, heavy flash before tossing it aside into the current. Larger nuggets sometimes hide in plain sight, resting quietly right among the ordinary bigger stones that most people would have overlooked completely. Submerge your pan fully underwater and begin a steady circular swirling motion, letting water wash the lightest material gently over the front lip with every rotation. Heavier material naturally works its way toward the bottom of the pan during this motion, which is exactly the physical principle you learned about earlier applied on a tiny, controllable scale. Continue swirling and tilting in short bursts, occasionally shaking the pan flat underwater to help dense particles settle even deeper beneath the lighter sand above them. As material in the pan grows smaller, slow down and become more careful with every motion, since this final stage is where genuine gold is most easily lost over the front edge by accident. What remains toward the very end is called black sand, a dense mixture of magnetite and other heavy minerals that naturally travels alongside gold through the entire process. Any bright metallic flakes resting inside that black sand deserve a closer look, and a simple magnet passed just above the pan will pull out the magnetite while leaving true gold completely untouched. Real gold also keeps its shine underwater and in shade alike, while shiny pyrite tends to fade and lose its glow the moment sunlight stops hitting it directly. Gold also stays remarkably soft and workable, so pressing a small flake gently between two hard surfaces will flatten it smoothly instead of shattering it apart like ordinary rock or pyrite would. A sluice box speeds up this entire process for anyone processing larger volumes of gravel, using a textured mat and steady water flow to trap heavy material automatically. You simply shovel material through it, while the moving current does most of the tedious sorting work entirely on its own. A cheap classifier screen placed over your pan before you even start swirling saves enormous time, since it removes fist-sized rocks immediately and leaves only fine gravel worth working through carefully. Many beginners rush through the final swirls out of pure excitement, and that single habit is exactly how a full afternoon of patient effort ends up washed right over the front edge in seconds. Slow down whenever the material in your pan starts looking mostly like dark sand, because that stage holds the highest concentration of anything valuable and deserves your full attention. Whichever method you choose, remember that even a handful of fine flakes after a full afternoon of work counts as a genuine success and proves the spot you chose was reading the river correctly. Everything you just learned works because you now understand the same physical rule that guides every serious prospector. Heavy material always sinks and settles toward the very bottom, while lighter material keeps drifting away freely with the current. If you want to support this project directly, our members area is open, and it comes with exclusive content you will not find anywhere else on the channel. Joining also helps keep videos like this one coming week after week, which matters more than most viewers ever stop to consider. And if now simply is not the right moment for that step, no pressure at all. Just subscribe for free and keep watching this channel. The next video walking onto your screen right now covers another river system that is well worth exploring on your own time. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Good luck, Gold Hunter!